Okay, well, I believe this is episode 4 of Robin's Nest, and I welcome everybody. Thank you once again for your support. I really appreciate it. My name is Robin Keplis-Nekowitz, and I am a psychotherapist for 30 years and a wife of, my anniversary is actually this week, 23 years. And I'm also the mom of 2 daughters, Arlie and Zoe, ages 21 and 18. I don't want to rush it. And I am the author of a book called Go Take a Bath, A Powerful Self-Care Approach to Extraordinary Parenting, available on Amazon. And I hope that you will follow me on my Instagram account, which is robins_nest_pod. Would really appreciate that. And I want to thank everybody so much for the support over these last 4 weeks. This is a new adventure for me, and I just really appreciate everybody's support. And I got so much good feedback from last episode that we decided to do a take 2, part 2 with Lori Rice Spring, because the feedback that I received was everyone wanted more. So welcome back, Lori, really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me back, Robin.
Have you had a chance to listen to our last?
Of course I
podcast?
have.
And what were your thoughts?
I really enjoyed listening to us sort of share our memories from 30 something, almost 30 years. And I just thought it was really great to hear sort of the ups and downs and the true life experiences of 2 women in their 50s, sharing honestly about the wonderful parts, the challenging parts. And I'm really excited that we have more time now, because there's just much more to say.
There's so much more to say. But I'll tell you, one of the pieces of feedback that I did get was that people really enjoyed, and I thought it would be kind of boring for people, to tell you the truth, but it turned out it wasn't. People really enjoyed hearing about our humble beginnings with each other.
Oh, nice. Really?
Yeah, they
That's
really
great.
Enjoyed hearing like the initial competition, at least on my end of things, and how you went from being this person that I just was feeling threatened by to a friend once I saw your humanity. It was people really related to that, hearing that, especially my older daughter really appreciated hearing that, because
great.
It reminded her of some things, and to hear that you can start out that way, and then over years, those kinds of initial pieces just kind of fall away.
Yeah.
Anyway, so one of the things I thought that we would continue talking about, diving right in, is COVID. I cannot imagine being any professional person, teacher, counselor, or otherwise, at this particular time. I mean, I just can't even imagine the workload, because I know how, I think the teachers and nurses are cut from a completely different cloth than the rest of us. I just think that they walk on water anyway.
Right.
And now add this COVID piece to it. Wow. I can't even think about it.
I know. And a lot of, it's really important, because I know we're talking a lot about the incredible impact to our mental health that this has brought to us in the forefront of our everyday lives. And teachers are very stoic creatures. They just keep pushing on. Educators just push through, because they've always known they're not going to have enough of what they need. Right. And so even on a good day, they need more supplies, or they need more time, or they need something, and they don't complain. They just push ahead. And that's, I think, to our detriment at some points. And I think right now that's really showing itself, that teachers are so creative, and educators as a whole are so incredibly creative, and they are so passionately committed to their students that facing this challenge, they've become more inventive, more just sort of incredibly imaginative and creative, and they're paying the price emotionally, because
I was just going to say that
they're not able to keep. We're not, and I'll include myself. I think teachers work longer hours and harder than counselors, but we're not going to be able to sustain this.
Right.
It's
literally
unsustainable.
Going to say it. Yeah, they are wildly creative, and they are rising to the occasion.
Right.
But at what cost?
Right.
The teachers that I have on my Facebook feed, I am seeing exhausted people who are trying so hard to please everybody,
Right.
and it's an impossible task. I
It
just
is.
wish that teachers could give themselves a break, and I hope that parents are giving the teachers a break.
Yeah.
That's something that I talk about a lot with some of the parents in my practice, not just right now, even during COVID, but I mean, there's so many problems, but it's so complicated and heavy because the
Right.
teachers are under so much stress. The counselors are under so much stress. The parents are under so much stress. The kids are under so much stress. So it's so multi-layered,
It is.
and everyone's looking to everyone else for help. The kids are looking at
Yes.
their parents. The parents are looking at the kids. I mean, the teachers are looking at the counselors. The parents are looking at the counselors. The
Right.
kids are looking at the counselors, and everybody is stretched so thin.
Everybody is stretched.
I just really hope, and I think I even said this last time, that everyone gets a pass.
Yeah.
And I just hope that everybody can really be excruciatingly kind to themselves and to everybody else.
I agree.
It just happened. I can't remember what it was. But even this, I was telling you, Lori, right before we started that, the IKEA guy, somebody came to put together our IKEA furniture, and they shattered the dresser. And whatever. You know what I mean? We're going to address it, but I just cannot get myself worked up over it. Like,
right.
Yeah, things happen. Shit is happening. It's just,
Yes.
It is what it is. And yeah, okay, so you hit the hammer a little too hard, and now both sides of the dresser is shattered. We'll figure it out.
Right.
But it's 2020. I have a friend who was trying to get her colonoscopy prep stuff done, right? And she drops off her pharmacy, prescription, and they call her to tell her that we don't have it. And she's like, well, I need it for tomorrow. I have an appointment. And they're like, well, would you like us to call around to other pharmacies? And she's like, yeah, that would be great. Okay, which other pharmacies do you want us to look
I could do that myself.
But nobody's thinking. Everyone is just not thoughtful about the things that they're saying.
Exactly.
I was curious, one thing that we did not get to last time that I definitely wanted to talk about, because I noticed it when we got together over the summer when COVID was still relatively early, that you and I even are dealing with COVID very differently. So I thought maybe we could each talk a little bit about how we're each handling COVID, how we're both feeling about COVID. And I also wanted to talk a little bit about what I'm seeing in my practice.
Well,
relationships.
I'm just pretty good. I don't wear a mask outside when I'm walking my dogs in my neighborhood on my streets, because it's not crowded, and I see one person in 20 minutes and I can move. But if I were walking down into like the little center city area of my little towns in Delaware County, and I was walking like on the streets of Media or something, I'd be wearing a mask the whole time outside, because I'd be passing people closely, shoulder to shoulder. So, I haven't gone in anyone else's car. I haven't gone in anyone else's home except for one person who lives in my neighborhood. Is very good friend, and we are outside 80% of the time. And when I'm inside, I'm masked. I haven't been
restaurants.
I will not eat inside. Only outside, and I have eaten outside probably 3 times since March.
Okay.
I won't go into a bar. My church is online. So I'm not interested in traveling anywhere. I need to go to Connecticut to see some family, and I'm going to drive up and back for a day. I'm not staying overnight. I could stay in a hotel if I wanted to, if I'm tired, but I'm not staying with family. Even though there's very little virus up in Connecticut, at least where my family is.
Right.
But I'm, I feel I have 2 thoughts on it. I absolutely don't want to get COVID if I can avoid it. And number 2, everybody needs to make sacrifices. And I feel as though if I don't make certain sacrifices and I'm not committed to doing what's good for the group, which is my entire country, community, I feel like I'm not helping. And I want to set good examples for the people around me. So I'm committed to that.
So again, and we said this last time, you said no judgment about how anyone's handling it. And I would say the same. I have no judgment toward you or anyone else and how they're handling it. But I'm handling it, I guess, a little differently than you are. Some similarities and some differences. The similarities are that I also do not want to get COVID. I very much am trying to keep myself and my family safe. When my kids come home from college, they have to get a test before they can step foot in the house. Um, and I am masked, if I'm around people. I have not eaten indoors, all of that. I do not wear a mask outside, almost never. I eat outside as often as I possibly can before the weather turns too cold. I'm really worried about that because I'm not comfortable yet eating inside, and I don't know that I will at all this winter. I don't have a plan to, but I keep saying, I'm reserving the right to change my mind about absolutely anything because it's 2020 and everybody gets a pass and everybody gets to change their minds minute to minute based on what makes sense for them. I actually felt totally safe on an airplane, wearing a mask, everyone else wearing a mask, feeling really good about their air filtration system and all of that. When I'm in a car, I am masked, but I do travel with people, but I'll wear a mask. So I don't wipe down groceries and stuff like that. Oh, okay.
I don't do that.
I go to stores regularly. I've been redecorating my house, so I've been in and out of stores. I have been known to leave stores if I see enough people not wearing a mask. Right. If there's a couple people not wearing a mask, I can just steer clear of them. I can just go to the opposite end. But when I start to see clusters of people not wearing a mask, I just become enraged. And I storm angrily out of the store. Like, what is your problem? You clearly had to wear a mask to get into the store. Just keep the mask on.
Correct.
So I definitely, there's a lot of overlap, but like you and I, are handling it differently. And then imagine if we were married, and that's what's happening a lot in the couples that I'm working with.
I see. Sure.
It's very interesting. It's yet another thing to fight about in marriage. It used to be what? It used to be just money, sex, and what was the other thing? The people
religion? No,
kids, in marriage.
Parents.
Yeah, certainly parenting.
Yeah.
But now add COVID to the list.
Yes.
Because people are very individual. It really shows you how very individual we are, whether we're married or we're not.
Yeah.
I always say, we come into this world alone and we'll die alone. It's that basic existential crisis that Irvin Yalom talks about, my hero, who's a famous psychiatrist for those people who don't know. But, COVID has really brought out how individual we are, that no matter whether we are, just like we come into the world and we die alone, no matter how many years we've been married, no matter how many friends we have, no matter how many children we have, we're still going to die alone, which I always use in therapy as a reason, a very compelling reason to do what you want. You are not going to be laying on your deathbed thinking to yourself, well, at least I made my so-and-so happy. At least I didn't have a conflict with my mother-in-law. You're going to only care that you lived your life your way. And with COVID, though, it gets super complicated when, using that as an example, because you are affecting the person that you're living with.
Yes.
And I have many, many couples, and I don't know whether Soren, that's Lori's husband, whether he is right in line with your way of doing things. Larry is very much, my husband is very much doing things the same way I am. But I'm seeing a lot of couples who, the wife or the husband are hyper vigilant from a COVID perspective, and the spouse is not, and it's causing enormous conflict.
I can see why it would.
Yeah. How about you guys?
So we're about the same. Okay. We're about the same. But I have shared, there was an opportunity for him to travel a little bit, to go up and see a friend. And I was like, I'm not really comfortable with that. I'm getting, I'm back at work. If I'm out, that would be rough. And I'd rather that you not. Mm-hmm. And he didn't. He said, okay. Because it was extra. Would have been fun for him for sure. And it would have been more, probably a lot of outside time together up in one of the northern states. But still, I'm like, why add more to the house that we don't need to add? Why? this was not like a business trip. Soren did go and see our daughter out in Portland, Oregon in September, because we really wanted to see her. It's been a while. She's on her own out there going to grad school. So he did get on a plane and go out and see her. And they were, and that to me felt like worth the risk, of course, because we wanted to get our eyes on our kid, because it's been a while since we'd seen her, and the fires were raging, and she's alone and so I think a lot of it for us is it's not been perfect. We've not been perfectly aligned and simpatico, but we at least are talking about ways to keep to be on the same page.
Right. But can you imagine?
No.
How it is for so many people.
I mean, I think anxiety is increasing now because we're staring down the barrel of the winter. Yeah. And, and I know for me, we're facing holidays without family, and I'm willing to make that sacrifice to not see my family, because I don't want to bring anything to my family with young nieces and nephews, and certainly my older parents. But I'm going to be really sad about that. And I hate that I can't. But I don't want to tempt fate and have a super spreader event and see, you see people getting sick with, and the winter time is coming, and I think everybody's anxiety is really increasing. I know I can speak for myself that mine is increasing because we're starting the whole inside process, and we know that science tells us that's going to be a little bit harder for us to manage.
Right. But I saw something on the news the other day that I went, wow, like really out loud, wow, to the TV. Because I thought that this said a lot. And this woman, it was some scientist, and the question that was asked of her from the reporter was, would you prefer having a vaccine or a mask?
I bet she said mask.
She said mask.
Yeah.
And why I said wow to that, aside from all the political vaccine things and who's lining up first to get this vaccine, not me. But separate from that, it just shows you, wear a mask. If we're all wearing a mask, we are protected. And from that place of we're all going to wear a mask and be protected, I then wear my mask. I'm with other people who are wearing masks, and I am moving on with my life. Because this isn't going away. I keep saying that this is not going away. This is going especially because I'm not getting this vaccine. So I'm not getting this vaccine. Everyone I've talked to said they're not going to be the first person in line for this vaccine either. So what's the end game here? I mean, the only way to prevent this is to wear a mask and to be around people that are wearing masks. And if we're all wearing masks, then we are safe enough to live our lives. That's my personal take on it. So I'm just trying to go out there and live my life, but I'm not. The reason I won't go into a restaurant is because all of our masks are off. We're eating.
Well, that's right.
If we were not, if our masks, like, I don't understand why we can't go back to Broadway, for example. Why can't Broadway open? We're a very Broadway focused family over here, right? We have Zoe, who's a performer, and we're all very into the arts in that way. And I don't understand why they cannot open Broadway, socially distance, every 6 feet a person, wearing a mask. Everyone must wear a mask. If you're not wearing a mask, you're immediately tossed out. Why can't we do that?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. I don't think we have. I think that's going to be more possible. And I'm not a scientist, of course, but I think that will be more possible when our viral loads are lower. I just don't think. And you've got Broadway, opening up Broadway means people are going to be traveling to come to Broadway. So they're going to. So yes, it's low numbers in New York City right now, lower. But then not from Nebraska or Wisconsin, and they're going to fly in, and they're going to come in and bring their COVID with them. So I just think that you can.
Sorry, do that. Listeners out there in Nebraska.
So I'm just saying where the hotspots are right now, and I know Wisconsin's a huge hotspot. So I think that's the issue. So it's not an easy time.
It is absolutely not an easy time. And speaking of not easy times, let's move right into the Trump years, shall we?
Sure.
One of the questions that I know you want to talk about the vice presidential debate. So let's start there, actually. Why don't you tell me a little bit about your feelings, and then I have a question that I want to ask you.
All right. Well, I have a confession to make.
Okay.
The debate started at 9. I only made it to 9:45.
Oh, okay.
Because I was screaming so loudly. at the television because I was so angry at the moderator
Mm,
and so angry at Pence for interrupting.
uh-huh.
And if I heard please, Mr. Vice President, or thank you, Mr. Vice President, one more time,
Yes.
um, my television was in jeopardy. So my windows were open. It was 9:45. I was screaming at the television. My dogs were agitated because I was yelling. And my husband closed the windows and said, I think it might be time for you to go. So then the next day, my coworker sent me a Cardi B a TikTok with her screaming at the television, banging on the television, and putting her hand on top of Pence's face. And I thought, yeah, that was me. So
Wow.
it was I had an incredibly strong reaction to how Kamala had to, walk this incredible tightrope
Absolutely.
with a smile on her face, because we can't have a strong woman be too aggressive,
especially
or
a Black
too
woman.
assertive, right? And the smile that she had, and I think to myself, what must she have been thinking, and how incredibly strong she was to be able to continue to be clear and focused when all I wanted to do was just become physically violent because I was so upset with her different that corner she's been blocked into, but also by the moderator not finding her voice and sharing and raising her voice and saying this is the limit.
I don't understand, and I'm asking this as a serious question. Why can't we just cut the mics off after the 2 minutes?
They've never done that though.
Why can't they though?
I don't think that it's not that they can't. The committee, the debate commission was talking about that afterward, after the Trump debate, about some new changes to the format and whatnot. But historically, they've just never done it that way. And
how do you feel about the fact that there's probably not going to be another presidential debate?
I'm disappointed that.
Really?
No, I mean, I didn't want to listen to it again, but I wanted, I think Biden's going to have some kind of town hall instead, right? Some way.
Yeah, which I think is much better.
Right. Oh, it certainly is.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's hear what they both have to say, not fight with each other. I mean, I can't listen to that again.
No.
And how did you feel about the Supreme Court stuff that's going on?
Well, I was too busy to listen or look through my Twitter today from at work about all that was happening on the floor. I'm incensed by this whole crap.
I'm sorry myself.
And the thought that I'm angry at the journalists now who are promoting this ridiculous question of, is Biden going to stack the court? That should just be completely sidestepped and ignored, because that's not what's happening. And what happened is that, we were bamboozled out of the last 100 seats and a Supreme Court justice. So when Obama was president, and this is an obscene experience. They can't get money to people who are being evicted because they have no jobs because of COVID. The Congress can't push through that, but they have time to devote all of their attention to this nonsense.
It's so sick.
It's really challenging for me to talk about.
It's beyond the pale. I mean, I personally struggle to talk about it, because when people even ask me simple questions like, what do you think about it? My rage and my emotions are so incredibly overwhelming that I can't find my words. I don't know where to begin. I don't know where to begin to explain to somebody why it is not okay. I was walking with a friend who was talking about, whoever's in power has the right to, do this Supreme Court nomination, blah, blah, blah.
Right, exactly.
Except, that's fine and that's great, except that's not what happened.
Right.
So, okay, but is it going to be tit for tat? Well,
yes. Fair is fair.
I don't understand. Yes. What would you like us to do? I mean, it feels like, we're just going to bulldoze over you and you're just going to be quiet. You're not going to be allowed to have any reaction to that, whether it's stacking the court, which seems reasonable, given the fact that we now have 2 seats that have been stolen from us, effing Kavanaugh, who I was, for me, the darkest part of Trump's presidency,
Yes,
that
was.
man was put on the court. It makes me sick to my stomach. I can't even talk about it without getting emotional. That, to me, I mean, that and probably the kids in cages were the darkest times for me over the last 4 years. But now again, they're going to put a second person on after they stole the Merrick Garland.
Yes.
You
Yes.
got to be kidding me. I can't even talk about it. I can't
know.
even talk to anybody about it in a way that is calm, because I don't feel calm about it.
No, I'm not calm at all.
And I don't know what people expect us to do.
I don't
So
know
like when
either.
people are like, are you going to stack the court? Are you going to stack the court? I hope so. I hope so. I
Right.
sure as hell hope so. How
Right.
else are we going to make things even again? The whole point of the Supreme Court is that it's supposed to be relatively even, to have that tension back and forth of a Democratic and a Republican perspective.
Correct.
Right? So we don't
Correct.
have that. We're not going to have
No.
that after this woman is, Amy
No.
is confirmed. So
Correct.
I sure as hell hope so. I'm
And-
going on record.
And we have to watch it unfold, and it's incredibly, I feel so powerless in the process, watching it unfold. I can't do anything about it other than I already voted, I sent my ballot back,
Oh, wow.
but it's, so I hear you.
Yeah, it's so upsetting. What are you thinking is going to happen on election day? My first question is, what do you think the outcome is going to be? And the second question, probably even more important, no, not more important, but just as important, is what do you think the reaction of the community is going to be? Society.
What's the reaction of the society going to be?
Well, first,
Like,
what do you
okay,
think is going to happen?
so-
Do you think Biden's going to win?
Well, if I go by the science and the polls and the number of people who have turned out and the number of ballots that have already been cast, the numbers are astronomically, 10 times what were cast by mail and absentee from 4 years ago.
Okay.
And then within those breakdowns, it's 3-1 Democrat to Republican.
Okay, so you're feeling good.
So yes, but I was feeling good before,
Right.
4 years ago. So if I'm being honest, I believe Biden's going to win, and I believe it's going to be a pretty big win.
Okay.
But
We know that on election night.
We will not know that on election night. So here's my prediction. I believe that Trump is going to claim victory on election night, regardless of the count. I believe he is going to, he's already sown the seeds for claiming it to be a cheat.
Right.
And that we have bamboozled, taken over and it's all fraud. So I believe he will get his Proud Boys armed and ready. And I believe that there's going to be violence. I believe there's going to be violence regardless of whether he wins or whether he loses.
Right. So let's start with the fact that I'm working the polls. Should I be concerned? Because people are telling me I should not be working the polls because it's not going to be safe. But
no,
I'm there to ensure that it is safe.
Yeah, but you have no power to make it safe other than you're watching. You're just watching people. You're monitoring, and you will report to somebody. I'm sure you're going to have phone numbers on your person. There are PA Blue phone numbers you can call for voting irregularities and poll watching dates and stuff like that. So you're going to be watching and seeing what's happening and recording things and making notes of things. But
Do you think that I should be concerned about any violence at the polls?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so.
I
wouldn't be.
Either.
No, I wouldn't be. If I didn't have it in service that day, I would be doing it myself. But I'm just doing lots of phone banking between now and then. So no, I think there's going to be violence in some ways. I would not be surprised. I just hope there isn't, but I would not be surprised because he's already setting the stage. In my mind, he incited the violence that led to the near kidnapping and murder of Michigan's governor. So there is no jump to this. It's his words matter, and he knows who he's talking to, and they know who he's talking about.
Correct.
So
when you say violence, like you think that on election night people are going to come out like with guns? Like what do you think is going to happen?
I don't know. I think there's going to be protests. I think there's going to be mayhem and some protesting happening right away. And then I think it's going to be the Wild West, but from
Mhm.
election night to inauguration.
What about, do you think he's going to leave if he loses? When
Um,
he loses?
when he loses, do I think he's going to leave?
And if not, how are they getting him out of there?
I don't know. I haven't thought about that. I mean, I've
Really?
thought about it, but
It's all Bill Maher talks about.
I know. I don't know what I think will happen. I think that when he loses, I think that his support system, his minions and his enablers are all going to start jumping ship, because they don't have fake millions of dollars. Neither does he, but they need to find their next place to land. So
you think that they'll abandon him?
I think so. And I think at that point, then they're going to start really talking about what they've seen to save themselves. Because when he's done, the indictments will start rolling.
I know. The only thing that's getting me to sleep every night.
And I hope so. I so hope that Sally Yates is the new AG.
Oh
and she's the one that says, and this, and this, and this.
I want it to be Elizabeth Warren.
I think she's too important in the Senate. And I think she's got other fish to fry. I think that AG Sally Yates is, or AG Susan Rice, or maybe Ambassador, yeah. So we got lots to choose from.
Yeah.
Lots of really good people.
Oh God. If he really does go to prison, that will be a happy, happy day.
Yes, I know. Well, yes.
That will be sweet, sweet justice.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to we have 3 other topics and 15 minutes, so let's see what we can do.
All right.
Parenting. I thought about, if you remember last week, I was saying to you that I could not remember this other piece of parenting advice that was given to me that I wanted to share with our listeners.
Yes. What was it?
I remembered it finally. It took about 4 days.
Okay. Well, that's the next topic, which is health in the 50s.
Absolutely. The best parenting advice, that one of the pieces of parenting advice that I got, that I thought, I talked last time about that, that reservoir of feeling, that love that you feel when your child is born, that somebody pointed out to me, that same reservoir, that depth of feeling is true no matter what the feeling is when you're dealing with your child, whether it's the depth of love or the depth of anger or the depth of pride or joy or disappointment. So that was one thing that was like, wow, that really turned out to be true. The other thing was, I remember, and this actually came from Larry's cousin, Alan. So if he's listening, shout out to cousin Alan. His kids are older than my kids. And when his kids were getting ready to learn how to drive, my kids were like 4 and 8 years old, something like that, 4 and 7. And the idea of my child, this person that I grew inside my body, ever being put at the wheel of a car and saying, see you later, call me when you get there. Like, I could not wrap my brain around it. And here he was at the age where he was sending his kids out into the world, driving. Right. And I said to him, I do not know how you do that. I can't imagine putting my kids at age 16 behind the wheel of a car, which is like a death machine as far as I'm concerned, and then just hoping for the best. Right. Do your best, and I hope you get there, and all that. And he said to me, that really turned into the truth, that at every stage of your child's life, you are ready. So, for example, when they go to kindergarten, you are so ready for school. You've been, parenting for the last 5 years, full time in your house, preschool, whatever. Yes. And then when it's finally time for school, you're ready to stop paying preschool prices. You're tired of being home with them full time. You're ready for kindergarten. And if they're old enough to drive, he said, you're going to be so tired of driving them. You have been driving them for 16 years, and by the time you're 16, they're going all over the place, whether it's sports and friends and drama or whatever it is. And when they go to college, the thought of them leaving the house right now is overwhelming, but at that time you're going to be
Mhm.
like, bye,
Yes.
text me.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
And
Yes.
it is really the truth. And I couldn't really see that at that time. Did you
Yeah.
have that experience or
Oh,
no?
I absolutely did. Yes, there was definitely some from friends of mine who didn't feel ready or didn't want their child to go to school, or they cried when they started kindergarten. And I will never forget, I was pregnant with Torben when Gracie went to kindergarten, and or first grade, maybe it was first grade. They're 6 years apart, so that makes sense if it was first grade. And I remember coming home and I was really tired, and everyone was like, "What did you do? The house is empty." And I'm like, "I took a bath and I took a nap, and I was so happy that I
Mhm.
had that time to just,
Yeah.
be with myself." So
Yeah.
I can really relate to that experience of um, being ready for them to take on the next
The next
move.
step, right.
Absolutely.
And it's not, I mean, I love my kids like
Of
to the core
course.
of my soul. And I'm just looking forward to the next stage of parenting.
Right.
Like you never stop parenting, but you go from like being, a day-to-day person of parenting to more of a coach,
Right.
someone that they just kind of call on for some advice and
Absolutely.
then they go back into the game,
Right.
and I'm ready for that next stage. That's how
It's
I feel. And they're
yeah.
ready. They're
Right. Of
ready.
course. Of course.
So let's talk about our mothers for a minute.
Yeah.
One of the things that we wanted to talk about today is just being 50 or 50s. We're not 50, we're
I'm
in
older
our
than you.
50s.
I'm in my 50s. I'm 55.
Yeah, we're deep into our 50s.
Yeah, we're
You're a
in.
little deeper.
I'm a
You're a
little
little
deeper.
deeper, not much. And what that's like, and what are some of the life issues that we're dealing with as middle-aged women or past middle age, I guess.
With you mean regarding our moms
Yeah. Well,
specifically, or just in general?
in
What?
general, and I know you wanted to talk a little bit about what you're going through with your mom.
Right. So I think, I don't like the term, but women our age are called the sandwich generation, because often we're still parenting and also taking care of older family members or older parents.
Mm-hmm.
So I had my kids really young, so mine are, I'm not sandwiching on that end.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I'm really missing my mom. My mom is a late stages of Alzheimer's, and she's in a nursing home and has been in Connecticut, where I'm originally from, since 2000 January 2015. So it's incredible to think about her being in a nursing home for 5 years.
Wow.
And yeah, I have waves of emotion sort of fall over me at times I'm not expecting it. I'll look in the mirror and I have a facial expression that looks like her, or I'll look at my hands sometimes and they look a lot like my mom's.
Mm-hmm.
And I miss her because she was early onset Alzheimer's. Her mother was early onset Alzheimer's. And my mom became ill really in her late 60s, and she's only 78 years old, so
Wow.
she's been actively in her disease for almost 10 years now.
Wow.
And
Does she
you know
recognize you at all?
oh no, my mom's not verbal anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, she's
Wow.
pretty far into her disease, so she hasn't recognized us for probably 4 years.
Wow.
And so it's sad because obviously I miss her. I miss the time. It's just I feel cheated
Mm-hmm.
that I miss all these times that I could be, talking with her. And I see someone like Hillary Clinton, and I see how she's not much younger than my mother, and she should have been the president, and so she would have, she's completely together, and it's just sad. And so I find myself at times really feeling a lot of guilt because I haven't seen my mom since her birthday, which was last December, because I usually go up about every 3 months to Connecticut. I visit my family and I'll go and see her. And then COVID hit. And so I haven't been up since. So I haven't seen her.
Wow.
And not that she knows I haven't seen her, of course.
Right,
But I
right.
have an intense amount of guilt that my life has just gone on unchanged and unchecked
Wow.
from her disease. And I think to myself that I believe in my heart that she wouldn't want me to be giving up my career to take care of her, or have her live with me, or have her move. It's not even tenable at this point of her disease anyway.
Yeah.
But my sister did make some sacrifices and have her with her for about a year and a half as she fell into her disease enough that she didn't really know where she was anyway. And so it was time to put her in a nursing home because she was unsafe at that point.
Yeah.
It's just hard to, there's just moments when I'm just overwhelmed with grief about that my life is going on and hers, and she's, and I don't, nothing about my life has been impacted at this point, physically and like time wise and financially. She's on Medicaid, she has nothing. She's completely supported by the government in her nursing home.
Wow.
And it just feels like, did I do enough? Did I spend enough time? Did I do enough? And
Yeah.
I know you appreciate that sacrifice doesn't mean commitment. Like
Right.
sacrificing myself doesn't mean I'm going to be a better daughter.
Right. In fact, I'm a big believer, as you know, in boundaries.
Right.
And that the way you can most honor your mom is to only go up when you really have the energy to go up.
Right.
So that she can experience you even in whatever state she's in. She can feel your energy as one of authentic, really wanting to be there, rather than an obligatory, I should be here. There's a very big difference, and I'm a big believer in quality over quantity. But I can really relate, just from a mom perspective. My mom died in 2012. We struggled a lot in our relationship over the years, and our relationship really, really got really good at the end of her life, only for her to die. So I also feel very cheated in that way, but I sort of really spend most of my energy when I think about my mom in enormous gratitude that we were able to really come to terms, with I really forgave my mom for the things that she did, that really affected me in my life, because as a spiritual person, I really believe that because of my mother's struggles and all of the things that I had to deal with growing up, including my mother's addiction, it really made me the woman that I am today and the mother that I am today. Not in a traditional way, not in the, oh, I want to be a mom just like you. But, my mom was a very real person. She had many wonderful, wonderful qualities. And she had a lot of struggle in her life. And I learned from all of it. My mom was a very good person. She was a very loving human being. And so I learned that piece from her. But I also didn't want to take the other parts that I didn't like, like, the fact that she left her children, or, my mom had an addiction. I'm somebody who doesn't drink at all, because I don't really want to, addiction runs in my family, and I don't want to take those kinds of chances. And I want to role model for my children, not drinking and not using drugs, because addiction runs in my family, and I don't want to take any risks in that way. We are really running out of time yet again, and we have two other major topics. So let's run through them.
Okay.
I really wanted to talk about feminism for a minute. Let's keep it to like 2 or 3 minutes, because, but I really wanted you to know, and I've been telling everybody this week after they've heard our podcast, that you talked last week about, me really being a helpful part of your parenting journey. And you have been a humongous part of my feminism journey.
Oh, wow.
And it started, and I must tell this story. It started when we were friends, when we were much younger and our children were much younger, and we were on a beach together. I'm sure I've told you this story many times.
I love your stories, Robin.
Okay,
I'm not sure. You've got lots of stories. Okay. Let's hear it.
This particular story was that we were on a beach together. It was probably the only time we ever went to the beach together, other than when we were in Florida. And you came to the beach, and we were with our 2 daughters, which were the only 2 kids born at the time. And we were having trouble getting the umbrella into the sand.
Oh, yes, I remember this story.
Remember this?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're having trouble getting our umbrella into the sands because, we are strong women emotionally, but we were not necessarily strong women physically at the time. And we were really like having trouble with this umbrella. And then there were these 2 really strong men nearby. And I just said to you, without thinking twice about it, let's go ask those guys if they'll help us with our umbrella. And you looked at me and you were like, over my dead body, am I going to ask a man to help me with an umbrella in front of my daughter? You know, and I just was like, oh my God, okay, I'm sorry. But you know, I have to say, of all the women in my life, you have been the strongest feminist influence in my life, of being unapologetically present. Like, here I am, and I am not, and here are my thoughts, and here are my opinions, and I'm not going to apologize for them. I'm not going to back down off of it. And I know that over the years, you and I have spent a lot of time talking about how people have reactions to that.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
People are absolutely not comfortable with having a strong woman in the room. And I know that there are people that may be listening to this who don't agree, but I can only speak from my own personal experience. And I know, Lori, you can speak to this as well, that when you are a strong woman who has an opinion and isn't afraid to share it, and often maybe it's not the popular opinion.
Yes.
People have a really big reaction to that.
Yes.
What has your experience been?
That all the time. And I'm not rude, but I am not apologetic. So,
right, but I'm not rude either.
No,
people,
I know.
People
no, you're
take
not.
it.
Right.
The word that is often used to describe me when people are having a reaction is abrasive.
Right.
And when I ask what is abrasive about what I'm saying,
right,
all they can tell me is that I'm too honest.
Right.
I'm too direct.
Correct.
That's not abrasive. That's just honest and direct.
Correct.
But you're feeling abrasive. So
yes.
you're having a reaction to my honest and direct approach.
That is true.
There's nothing abrasive about what I'm saying.
No, but
I'm not mean-spirited.
But it's not what we're taught to. It's not how we're taught to behave.
Correct.
And so I try to mirror that. Well, I've mirrored it for my daughters, I hope, and I try to mirror it for my female students as well, when they apologize for asking me extra questions because they want clarity. And I always tell them, either in email or Zoom or face-to-face when we used to see each other, don't apologize for getting what you need or asking for what you need. And so that starts in the classroom. I'll give a lot of credit to my undergraduate women's studies minor, because I really learned about feminist theory there. And so that's meaningful to me to hear what your perception of me as a younger woman with younger kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
always looked up to you. I always looked up to you, and I still look up to you in that way.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So let's just tell the listeners that at some point in the future, maybe in December, we will do a part 3 of our trilogy.
I would love it.
Okay. And we will talk about all of these things. And by December, we will have our reactions to the election and all of that. What's going on there.
That's wonderful. I'm looking forward to that.
Thank you so much again for giving me so much time. I really appreciate it. And again, I ask everybody to please follow me on Instagram at Robins_nest_pod, and also on Facebook at Parent Assist. And please subscribe to this podcast. I would really appreciate it. And tell your friends, for sure, please. And if you enjoyed it. If you didn't enjoy it, tell nobody. Keep it to yourself. Let's just keep it between the 3 of us.
Sounds good.
Okay. Thank you, Lori.
All right. Thanks, Robin.
Take care.